So hey guys, what is up? I'm excited to finally start talking to you about Westworld Season 2 because yes, I've actually caught up on all the episodes, but no, I haven't had a single video or chat about Season 2, and I feel really bad about that. I just did a live chat about where I've been, why I've been away, so check that out if you're confused as to where I've been, or did I quit YouTube, or what's been going on. I won't get into all of that here since I just explained all of that, but go ahead and watch that live chat. I explain everything in the first few minutes so you don't have to sit through the whole thing if you don't want to. If you're in the room right now, let me know. Hopefully a couple people will come to this because I haven't covered it until now. I understand if people don't know about this or don't know to come to this chat, but this is something I would like to do every week, kind of recapping that week's episode. But this chat I wanted to devote to all the episodes so far since we haven't done anything on it. But I was thinking about starting to do these chats on Mondays, like at 5 p.m. Eastern. Let me know on the comments either here in the live chat or after it is on my channel, like if that is cool with you. Mondays, 5 p.m. Eastern. Hi, Jay Ivy. Thank you so much for being here. Again, if you are in the room, let's see how many people. Okay, there's 2 people watching right now. If anyone else is here, let me know because if we don't have a lot of people here, I will just keep this really short just because it's not as much fun with like one person commenting. But I still appreciate Jay Ivy for being here. Hi, Alex. Thank you so much for being here. So Jay Ivy's question, and she also asked me this in the chat I did before this, is what is going on with Bernard? I made the title of this chat about Bernard. Like, can we trust him or not? Because he's pretty much the main character this season. Well, I don't know if he's the main character, but he's very highly focused on, and there's a lot of questions that I have. And I also want to let you know I have not read any reviews from like entertainment sources or anything before doing this chat because I like to keep it genuine. Dadson says you don't really think we can trust Bernard. You think Maeve is the only host that's actually the one we can trust, I guess. So definitely this season is really dark, and not that it wasn't dark last season, but we're seeing like the worst sides of everyone. Everyone is just, well, everyone seems pretty evil, but I agree with Datsun that Maeve seems like the same, and I like Maeve. I think she's really cool. But you never really know here, like, who's going to switch it up or whatever. So back to Bernard, I mean, so we saw him being like freaking savage, like killing all those people and going crazy. Now, he also has said that wasn't him. He was programmed to do these things. So he didn't really, he remembers sort of doing it, but it wasn't what he wanted to do. We also have to remember that he is a host of sorts, so he doesn't think the way that a human would think. Shamia says that you think Dolores and Bernard are still on script. Maeve is the only one that is truly free. Definitely Maeve to me seems just like a person. Yeah, I'm totally with that. I think she's really cool. It made me sad that she didn't go forward with her plans in last season of escaping to the real world. But what I thought was cool in this season is seeing Dolores, and I feel like she was like in New York, but like when she was actually out in the real world, even though that was in the past. I think that this season, I think the whole show can be confusing, but I think this season is probably harder to follow than last season. And actually, I was just searching for a thumbnail, and in searching for a thumbnail, even though I did not read the articles, I saw articles titled like, this season is off track, this season basically sucks, this season is a downer. So I don't know what you guys are thinking. Do you still enjoy this as much as last season? I feel like it is very different. Obviously we have similar characters, the same characters pretty much, but I do feel like the tone is totally different. Like we're seeing like this dark side of Dolores, dark Bernard, William, super dark. Well, we knew he turned into, I can't think of what they call him in the show, but the cowboy character, the dark cowboy. But we're also kind of seeing William as the character that we knew him as when he was younger and getting into the darkness, which I think is cool. In the last episode, I thought it was so cool that this woman that we've been seeing that's been like outsmarting everyone, we just thought she was like a guest, but she's actually William's daughter, which I thought was super cool and a really cool like way to end last episode and make me want to watch more. Datsun says, you believe that Ford set up this entire process and they aren't all really awake yet. Maeve was supposed to leave on the train last season, but she chose to stay. She has free will now. Datsun says, you didn't like this season at first, but episode 4 brought it back around. I thought it was a little strange. starting out, but I really was intrigued by the ending of the last episode, and I'm just very much intrigued because I know they have like so many surprises in store for us, and also it's just really intriguing about Ford and what he has done, and what is the main goal here. Like he's wanting William to find something or to figure all of this out, and what are we trying to figure out? Like I need to know what that is, you know? The thing that William is searching for and on a quest for, basically. I love Dolores, so I kind of am bummed to see her be dark. At the same time, I get that because look what they have done to her and all the other hosts for all these years. I would be angry too. But again, we don't really know, like, is she playing a role, but she thinks she's not playing a role, but she is, or is she actually thinking for herself? I do agree with you guys that Maeve, she just seems really grounded and together and just human. You know, I don't think she's being controlled. But one never knows, and I also think there's still some stuff going on that we see on the surface that there's more to, you know, way more to. So Jay Ivy says you feel like you need graphic organizers like a flowchart or a web diagram to keep up with everything. Absolutely. Like, and I think that's the reason a lot of people don't watch this or quit watching this, is that it is very technical. It is very, especially this season, it's like, kind of almost reminds me of How to Get Away with Murder with the time switching. We're just all over the place. And if you think about it, I feel like I don't even know if anything that we're seeing is in present day. And present day, I believe, is far into the future of like our present day. Like I would think 2018 is probably super in the past for this show. So I feel like if we are ever in present day in that show, it's when the guy, like, I don't even know what his name is, but he's like coming in and he's like freaking out, and he's brought basically like troops almost like from the government to kind of sort things out. But even then, I don't know if we're in present day. I think it's interesting, and I think this also goes back to the movie, which I haven't seen, but I've heard people talk about, where we are exploring the different worlds now. Like there's part of it that's in India. It looks like part of it's in Japan. We are not only a WESTWORLD, and I think like that's just something that has evolved as the park has evolved. Dotson says these robots must be members of the Cooper family because they have the darkness. Yeah, well, I think they have the darkness, but they also are out for revenge, and they've just had enough, I guess, unless it's just scripted. But if you look at it on the surface, it's like, oh my God, we've been basically slaves for all this time. We've been mistreated. We've been killed a bunch of times. We've been raped a bunch of times. We are going to take this place back. So, I mean, it sucks for the people who were just random guests that happened to be there at the wrong time who were killed. But then again, they were, I don't know, the whole thing is just wrong. The whole park is wrong. The whole idea of, they never dreamed that these robots would actually start having feelings, I guess. Jay Ivy says you love Dolores and wish the best for her character. I do. I love her. I don't like seeing her this way. I want her to come back around. I felt really bad, like what was going on with her dad, even though that's probably part of the script. We just don't know, like, what is supposed to be happening because Ford was so demented, and what is just that the people thinking for themselves, you know? But her dad is super messed up, and that's like another big mystery that we have here. It's like someone has messed with his whole system, and like what was the end game in that? Shamia says you feel like it's possible that Bernard's blackouts are from Ford controlling him. Yeah, I could see that. You think last episode was hinting at Ford possibly creating a body double, and that was who was killed at the party. That's really interesting. So I never even thought about that, but hey, could we still have Ford alive? Or do we have Ford alive kind of like Bernard is alive? Like, Bernard used to be a real person, right? Or was he not? It's confusing because we know that, like, the dad of, was it William's father-in-law was dead, but then they brought him back, but it just didn't work. So could there be a Ford who had died, but he's brought back, like, in the robot state, like William's father-in-law? Jay Ivy says you do appreciate that the writers are writing for an intelligent audience. Yeah, so, you know, I think we've known from the beginning this is not a Pretty Little Liars. This is not a preteen show. Doesn't mean that you have to be a certain age to watch it, but I also think you have to have an open mind. And you know, in a way, I can compare it to, like, Twin Peaks. If you watch that show, you really have to think outside the box and have an open mind, and maybe even more so on Twin Peaks than this one, because it's very sophisticated in the way that the writers are thinking, and it's never surface level, and it's never like the reveals are not like, oh yeah, I knew that was coming, or oh, that's so stupid, because it's just way beyond that. Datsun says you think that all of the robots are at least on their way to waking up. They're remembering stuff from their past lives. You also think Teddy actually made a choice when he let the soldiers live. Yeah, so I think that is just super interesting. Like, how much of this is their free will? How much of this, even when they make decisions that you're like, oh, that was a really good decision. Like, is that part of the script or whatever? I always think it's creepy when, like, the kids talk because they're controlled by Ford. So, like, that one guy's little girl who we've seen, like, break character before was breaking character, I think, in last week's episode and, like, saying creepy things because that's what Ford wants her to say. But then, like, smiling at her dad and being like, oh, Dad, I love you. Don't leave. Just creeps me out when the kids are kind of evil. Datsun says you think that what Ford did also set everyone on the path to basically waking up. Some of them have done so already, but others are still on a set track. Dolores isn't awake yet, in your opinion. So how much of this did he want to happen? Did Ford know that these people were going to have an awakening, or did he program them to do that? Or is he cool with that? Or was he cool with that? Or is all of this just like an experiment gone wrong? That's interesting. Does anyone have any ideas about what's the end game for William? Like, what does Ford have him searching for? What is going to go on with that? Also, what do you guys think about this time period here? Do you think the park has been destroyed and we're watching everything in the past? Do you think everyone's actually dead? Like, I'm talking about William, and I mean, most people are robots, but you know what I mean? Do you think maybe everything is over and we're just watching it in the past? I have no idea what year we're supposed to be in, or if they'll ever reveal that, but I feel like we're not in our present time, you know? And we need to talk about Bernard some more. Jay Ivy says you've seen theories to determine which timeline Bernard is in by looking at his clothing. That's interesting. It's very confusing because I feel like there's a lot of different timelines this season. There were probably, yeah, we definitely had those last season, but there's just a lot. Like, you know, William is always like two different ages. Like, I guess he's kind of in his 30s or something as young William, and then he's like 60s maybe as Cowboy William. But like, is he even still alive? Do you guys think he's still alive in present day or what? I kind of feel like everyone's dead and we're looking at this into the past. And then sometimes I thought, like, well, is William real, or is he like a reincarnation of himself at this point? Did he die too? Or is everyone like a host? Is it all just a game and like no one's really alive? Like everyone's some form of a robot, you know? I don't know. I've thought about that too. I don't know. Maybe all of it is, maybe at some of the points in the game, every single person's like a robot and people are watching it from the outside, and that's like the enjoyment now. I have no idea, but I know that there's going to be like some super big twists coming, and I know what they're showing us is not what is really going on. You know, I feel like there's some super big surprises happening. So what are your guys' thoughts about that? But anyway, yeah, I'm enjoying it. I mean, I think you have to keep a real open mind to watch this, and I think I didn't know what to expect after the finale of season 1, and it's been, you know, I think that ended in 2017 or maybe 2016. It's been a while since we've seen it. So I think it was cool that they recapped everything, but still, if I had to like sit down and give someone the synopsis of everything that has happened since episode 1, season 1, that would be hard. Like, I think I have a pretty good grasp on it, but I think it's also confusing because we don't know everything right now. Datsun thinks that Ford's endgame for William is that he'll eventually ally himself with the robots and help them escape, which is cool. I like that. William originally had sympathy for the host and eventually became bitter and dark. Right, and he fell in love with Dolores, and then he said, I think sometime this season, like, I'm so stupid that I fell in love with you. Like, you're just a robot, which sucks. I hate the way William has become, and I didn't want William to end up being the person he is, the person that we met last season, because that man is just so jaded, and I don't like it. I guess I get it though. Datsun says Ford told William he'd end where he began. When William became who he is now, he still cared about Dolores and he was a good person. But isn't it really interesting how we're seeing that transformation of him even back in his younger looking state? We're seeing him kind of become like help developing the park and become kind of greedy and evil and all of that stuff. I hate that because I love William. Probably a lot of you guys did too. I loved his character in season 1. I loved who he was, like so innocent and just open to ideas and everything. And now he's just like so jaded, so dark, you know. But this is, I probably will do like live chats. I don't know how many of you heard this when I said this at the beginning, but start to do live chats like Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern so that we can have that like fresh in our minds after watching on Sunday. If you guys want to do that, so we can just kind of talk about everything that's happened, because it helps me to talk to you guys and to bounce ideas off of you guys about what has happened and like kind of theorize and everything. Anything else that we need to talk about in the episode so far that we haven't, or any other theories that you have or anything like that? I think there's just a couple people in the room, but if we have more new topics, we can still talk. Jay Ivy wants to know if I think Delos has Bernard on a loop. I think it's really hard to figure out what is going on with Bernard. I think it's also hard to debate, like, is he evil or is he a good person? Because he's not really a person. So it's hard to judge his character, because it's like, I don't know how much of it is him thinking freely or someone programming his thoughts, because we know there's a lot of programming with him because he's glitching out and all this stuff all the time. But also, like, what was I going to say? I just totally forgot. Like, what's her face? What's her name? Ellie or whatever? She totally didn't trust Bernard. She was like, look, you left me here. I don't think we saw that flashback, but like he left her there. He like chained her there with some protein bars or whatever. Like, she doesn't trust him, you know? And how many people in this show are still actual people? That's what I want to know. I feel like we've got the Hemsworth guy and her and the cowboy William. Are those the only three people that we think are actual people besides the random like guests that don't really have a name that we don't care about? Massimo says, if this is, will I be watching The Perfectionist? Yeah, I'm going to give it a try, see how it goes. I'm not going to say I'll watch the whole season, but I will try it, definitely. Dadson says, you thought the scene where robot Mr. Delos found out his daughter was dead was really sad. It was really sad. He completely broke down and he was trying to talk and he couldn't. What else I thought was really interesting is when they had like the final standoff with him, with I think Ellie, I think that's her name, and Bernard. And I know he had kind of gone insane and he'd like cut up his face and whatever, but I feel like there was a lot more human to him than they were giving him credit, because they kept saying like every single time he was a failed project. And I know he kept having the same conversations, and I know he was like a bad person when he was a real person, but I don't know. I mean, I know he was insane, but I think there was a lot of free thinking there, you know? Shamia says, you think it's possible that Delos is more than just a company, like maybe it's taken over the outside world and Ford's goal is to destroy them. So I've wondered a lot when we started with the first season, like, what is going on in the outside world? Like, what state is the outside world in? Again, like, how far in the future are we? Is there something wrong with the outside world? You know, it seemed like in last season that nothing was really wrong with the outside world. But again, there's this whole question I keep having about what time are we in? Where are we? I mean, the whole world could be destroyed. You know, I think that's not a bad theory. Like, this may be the world, this weird robot world, or is that robot world like really far in the past and the government destroyed it or something and we're just looking back on stuff? I don't know. Interesting. I always wanted them to go into the real world, and they kind of did a couple of times this season with Dolores, but that was definitely in the past because William was younger, and I mean, when she looked like she was in like in a city like New York, Ford was like super young, so, you know. So Dadson says William's daughter, Tessa Thompson, and the guy with Maeve are all human. Okay, thank you. Tessa Thompson, yes. What's her name in this? I forget. William's daughter, yes. And the guy with Maeve, yes, who was like one of the employees. Okay, good. That's right. So there's like, what, 6 people that we think are human? I don't trust any of that, though, because I don't know. And I don't know who to trust. Do you guys feel that way? Like, of the humans, like, who do we trust? Do I trust any of the humans? No, not really. I don't. Jay Ivy is so in love with the cast. The actors bring their best in each episode. HBO is on an upswing with this series and Big Little Lies. Yes, and remember, Sharp Objects is coming out next month, and it's by the same people who did Big Little Lies. It's like a thriller. Looks really good. I'm going to watch that. So HBO, for a while, I feel like it's had very quality programming, but it's very adult, you know, in the way that it's more sophisticated, which is good. You know, I like Pretty Little Liars to some extent, but I don't want to watch all teen stuff like all the time. So Dadson trusts Elsie. She does seem, why do I call her Ellie? Elsie, thank you. She does seem on the up and up. Like, she seems like, plus I think she knows that Bernard is something's not right. Even, I mean, does she realize, she realizes he's like robot or whatever. Yes, she figured that out, but I feel like she doesn't trust him, which I think is smart. Hi, Julian. Yes, thank you so much for being here. I've been away. I did a chat like a few minutes ago about where I've been if you want to check that out. Jay Ivy says, Camping is a new series coming to HBO that looks great. I actually haven't heard about that. I need to check into that. But I usually love most of the stuff they do. Some of the stuff is just... I watched this show that was like a limited series. What was it, last summer? I forgot what the name of it was. Maybe it was the summer before. And it was kind of a fail. It was about this guy who went to prison, but he didn't do the crime, I think. I can't remember the name of it. And it started out really good, and then it kind of failed. But most of their stuff, I think, is pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I'm really intrigued by it. I'm so glad the show's back because we had to wait so long. And I'm looking forward to, like, every week to watch it. So we'll just plan on doing live chats on Mondays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm going to let you guys go for now. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Hold on, the night of. Yes, let me read this comment quickly. Shamia says, you've always wondered what the end goal is, even in current day. If a group of killer robots tried to escape, they would be taken care of quickly. There's definitely a big secret in the outside world. Right. So either the world is totally messed up on the outside, so it's so chaotic there that no one cares that it's chaotic inside this robot world, or we are in the past and all of this stuff is destroyed and basically everyone's dead or almost everyone's dead and we're way in the past. We could be way in the future in present day here because I just feel like even in what, I don't even know what's present day on that show, but it's like, I think even present day is not our present day, like I've said. So who knows? We could be in like the year 3000 or something, the real present day. And I hope we understand what the timelines are, but I think maybe we won't until like the whole thing's over. I'm excited for the day that they take it to the outside world, but the outside world's in present day and they show us like what the heck is up? What does it look like? Please, I want to know. I don't want to stay encapsulated in this world the whole entire series. I would just love to know what is going on in this world in present day because we're at this level that's so futuristic. I mean, I feel like some of the scenes, like when they first revealed all the robots to like the guy who killed himself, the guy that was the friend of William, like I feel like that could have been possibly 2018 or around our time, but I think they are way ahead of us now, like way, you know. Thank you, Jay. I really appreciate it. Oh yeah, I'm gonna try to watch some of the royal wedding coverage tomorrow. It would be fun to do a chat. I never even thought about that. So yeah, that's a good idea. But it's so great to be back. It was so much fun talking to you guys, and thank you guys so much for being here. I will see you guys Monday for my next Westworld chat. I hope you guys enjoy the weekend and the new episode. Hopefully it's really good. So bye guys.